Ron Paul is considering running as a third-party candidate if he can't get the Republican nomination. What would you think about that?
I think he should, because that way it will show how little support he really has. It will be like the 1996 Pat Buchanan third-party threat. If somebody threatens to leave, let them. My attitude is we are not the conservative party, we're not the libertarian party, we're not the constitutional party, we're the Republican Party. And if Ron Paul wants to be a spoiled brat and take his minions with them, then they were never Republicans to begin with. What Ron Paul is really afraid of is that he'll take them and then we'll win anyway. George W. Bush won without Pat Buchanan. So the support for Ron Paul is a mile deep, it's an inch wide. Even all the astroturfing in the world could not buy them Iowa. He's done. Let him go. Take his supporters with him. Leave. Get lost.
Couldn't he take votes away from the Republican candidate?
No, because most of his supporters are not Republicans to begin with. A lot of them are Obama supporters. If it was, say, Ross Perot taking people who voted for Ronald Reagan and fracturing the Reagan coalition, Ron Paul supporters are not Republicans. Once somebody tells you, look at Michelle Bachmann, okay? When she drops out, if you go to Michelle Bachmann supporters and you ask them, do you have a problem with Rick Santorum? No, they agree on 99% of the issues, okay? Ron Paul people have said it's Ron Paul or nobody. Therefore, they're not GOP voters anyway. I say let them go. They're bluffing.
The Union of Reform Judaism just had its biannual convention where they overwhelmingly declared their liberalism and a democratic bona fides. You're concerned about Jews who vote for this administration and who may continue to vote for this administration. If only they understood, because when President Obama addressed them, just like he did AIPAC, the Jews seem to have forgotten his Middle East policy foibles that boded ill for Israel then, bode ill for Israel, not only Israel, but for U.S. foreign policy vis-a-vis his Mideast policy. What are your concerns about Obama's Mideast vision?
The problem is not Barack Obama. The problem is liberal Jews. Liberal Jews are like battered housewives in the sense that they blame themselves when it's not their fault. But the difference is battered housewives really are innocent victims. Whereas liberal Jews, I'm sorry to say it because they are my people in terms of religion, they get what they deserve. Okay, Barack Obama kicks them in the teeth and they thank him for it. Israel's not their top priority. They care about things like abortion, global warming, gay marriage, cap and trade. They're liberals first, they're Jews second. They think Barack Obama is doing a spectacular job because their religion is liberalism. So they don't see the enemy as Barack Obama, and enemy is a harsh word. Barack Obama is not my enemy, he's my opponent. But for instance, they don't see the biggest threat to Israel as, say, Iran. They see the problem as Benjamin Netanyahu because he's politically conservative. So it's pathological at this point.
But doesn't Obama represent a greater embracement of Islamic imperialism, which is a greater threat to Jewish survival because of innate Islamic anti-Semitism?
I think that overstates it a little bit. Barack Obama believes in Obama exceptionalism. He loves himself. If he thought that being a pro-Israel, taking a pro-Israel stand would increase his chances, he would. He's whatever people want him to be. He's a chameleon. He's everything to everybody, which means he's nothing to nobody. He stands for absolutely nothing. And I think that the way he looks at Israel versus the Palestinians is at any given moment what's going to cause him to have his polls go up. And he knows that the penalty for kicking liberal Jews in the teeth is nothing. And as long as he knows that the penalty is nothing, then he's allowed to do that. Because if he kicks the Palestinians in the teeth, Palestinians in America will actually stand up.
What would you expect American Jews to do under the threat of a potential re-elected Obama?
Curl into a fetal position and try to justify why he's really pro-Israel. They're not going to learn.
As a Jewish Republican, how do you find you're accepted when you travel talking about your politics among a Gentile public?
Christian America is the best friends the Jews have. I'm not threatened by Pat Robertson wielding a book. I was threatened by Osama bin Laden wielding a bomb. The fact of the matter is that evangelical Christians are the best friends Jews have ever had, and it's not because they want to convert us all. They love us for who we are. It's that they understand love thy neighbor, they understand right versus wrong, and they understand that innocent Jewish people trying to protect themselves are not the same as Palestinian suicide bombers.
How about beyond the evangelical denomination, though? Do you find any barriers to accepting you with the conservative message?
No, not at all. Because I mean, even those that are, for instance, Rick Perry and Rick Santorum and Michelle Bachmann are the emotional evangelical Christians. Newt Gingrich is what I call the intellectual Christian. He's not going to get up there and wear his heart on his sleeve about how much he loves Israel. What he's going to do is give you a coherent policy argument on why the only solution is to be pro-Israel. Now, that's not to say he lacks emotions. It's just coming from more of a historical, an archaeological, and an intellectual perspective. So I would say I don't care if you do the right things for the wrong reasons or the right things for the right reasons, but different reasons. It's just, do you do the right things? So whether it's the emotional perspective because you believe God tells you, or it's just the intellectual perspective because you understand right versus wrong, if you're pro-Israel, that's good enough for me.
How concerned are you about the Sharia threat through this administration?
The only solution when dealing with radical Islamists is force. Now, are you talking about Sharia law in the United States?
Well, I'm talking about Islamism on the ascension within, facilitated by this administration.
I think that's a little bit overstating it. There is Islamism. I think that Barack Obama does not see it as a threat, and that's a problem. The only solution when dealing with radical Islamists is force. Sanctions are a complete waste of time. Sanctions are code for doing nothing. The only solution is force.
Now, in addition to penning books, what's your latest book?
Ideological Idiocy.
You're also a long-time online writer. Where can people follow your blog?
The Tygrrr Express, TYG, quadruple R, express.com, TYGRRRR, express.com.
And can people subscribe to your blog?
Absolutely, and I'm on Facebook and I'm on Twitter. So the Tygrrr Express is the blog, and the 3 books are Ideological Bigotry, Ideological Violence, and as I said, the newest one, Ideological Idiocy.
And what's your Twitter handle?
Tygrrr Express.
And on Facebook?
Same, Tygrrr Express. One-stop shopping.